don't have any inside information.
The lady that did it, she got in there. I mean, she made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. We are certainly glad you are with us. Week 9 of the National Football League gets underway in a matter of moments. The Houston Texans, the New York Football Jets. Life after Stephon Diggs, at least for the 2024 season, begins for Houston tonight, taking on a Jets team that is about as desperate as the Jaguars. The Jets come in at 2-6, and their season is on life support already. So a pretty good one on Thursday Night Football, Houston and New York. We will keep you updated. As far as Hacker After Dark tonight, as you can imagine, it's going to be a ton about the Jaguars and the Eagles, and it's going to be a ton about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, now inside of 48 hours away from the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs. Saturday, 3:30. You'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. And then, of course, Sunday at 4 o'clock, Jacksonville and Philly. You will likewise hear that game right here on 1010XL Radio. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we kick it off with a big deal of the night and JJ LaSelva. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So a couple of things. First and foremost, former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts will join me in less than 15 minutes. We'll talk to Cecil about the Jaguars, about the injury to Christian Kirk, and get his perspective on the disappointment of the first 8 games and what, if anything, can be done about it moving forward with the Jaguars and this 2-6 record. More on the Jags in one moment. Florida, Georgia. World's largest outdoor cocktail party on Saturday. Mike Huguenin will join me later on. Also, Mike Bratton, that SEC podcast. He is the host of it, and he will join us in the 9 o'clock hour. I like the Dogs to win the game. I'm not breaking any news there. I like Georgia to win the game. Although I do think that it's not going to be a rout by any stretch of the imagination. As I told Rick there on the 2-minute drill, I think Georgia wins the game 34-20, 37-21, something along those lines. Solid win for the Dogs. I don't think the game is in much doubt in the fourth quarter, but I don't think it's a rout. I think Florida keeps it somewhat respectable. Now, look, Florida's injury problems don't help them. Being without Jason Marshall and being without Trey Wilson, those are problems. But having said all that, Georgia wins the game. And I think if that is the way it goes, Georgia by 2 touchdowns, I think Billy Napier is still somewhat all right. I think Billy Napier, like I said last night, he wins 2 of the next 5 to get to 6-6 and go to a bowl game. It is my opinion that Billy Napier will be back in 2025. He doesn't need to beat Georgia. No one expects him to beat Georgia. I certainly don't expect him to. Goodness gracious, if he does, he's guaranteed 2025. But I don't think they win the game. But they can't lose 48-10 either. You don't want to get absolutely destroyed. I don't believe that'll happen. Like I said, Georgia by 14-17. I think the same thing is going to happen in Texas next Saturday. And then we'll see. 2 games in Gainesville against Ole Miss and LSU. Obviously, the game against Florida State. You're probably going to have to win 2 of those final 3 to get to bowl eligibility. But give me the Dogs over the Gators by a couple of touchdowns. As far as Jacksonville and Philadelphia, I mean, look, how could anybody in their right mind, in good conscience, pick Jacksonville to win this game? You can't. The way Jacksonville's playing, the injury problems for the Jaguars, combine that with the way Philadelphia is playing as of late. They're getting healthier. They're at home. You can't pick them to win. Of course, nobody picked Cleveland to beat Baltimore last week. As we know, in the NFL, any given Sunday, right? Crazy things can happen. That's why they play the games. That's why they're not decided on paper. And I get all that, and all that's true, and all that's factual. But come on. How could anybody in their right mind pick Jacksonville to win this game? I think Philadelphia wins by same thing, probably a couple of touchdowns. Give me Philadelphia 30. Give me Jacksonville 16. And at that point, at 2-7, if the season's not over already, it probably will be at 2-7. And it's about playing young guys. We already saw that. Cam Robinson traded. Walker Little's in there. It wouldn't surprise me if Brandon Sheriff, you maybe try to do something with him to get Cooper Hodges more playing time moving forward. You got to get these young guys in, man. You got to see what you got coming into 2025. Look, your next four are Philadelphia, Minnesota, Detroit, Houston. Every one of those teams has at least 5 wins. That's reality. Reality is your next 4 games are absolutely brutal. And I'd be surprised, quite frankly, if you split them. I think maybe you can go 1-3. You might go 0-4. At 0-4, that puts you at 2-10, and then you wonder if Doug Peterson does finish the season at that point. But as we talk about one game at a time, 1 week at a time, this week it's Philadelphia. Give me the Eagles 30, the Jaguars 16. So I'll take Philly. I'll take Georgia. I'm not picking Florida State anymore until they win a game. I'm not doing it. I've been burned by them the last couple of weeks. I'm simply not doing it. Give me North Carolina, and I'll take, obviously, Miami to beat Duke. And Miami to get to 9-0, and all signs point to Miami making a run at that college football playoff. We're absolutely loaded. Hour number 1, Cecil Shorts, former Jaguar wide receiver. He joins me in less than 10 minutes. Also, Mike Huguenin, towards the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. The man's covered college football for years. I call him the College Football Encyclopedia. We'll take a deep dive into Florida, Georgia, also talk a little Miami and Florida State as well. Glad you're with us on a Thursday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. Hacker After Dark rolls on till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Get what you need to get you ready for the weekend.
I'm National College Football writer Matt Hayes, and I'll bring you stories about players, coaches, and programs.
It's the Bueller Aaron Plumbing College Kickoff, Friday night at 6. Brought to you by Sonny's Barbecue on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. I tell you guys this a lot, but it's so nice to get positive reassurance. I was at high school basketball media day earlier this week, saw some coaches in the area that I hadn't seen since I started my weight loss journey with Awaken 180. And I'm getting used to this reaction, right? Their mouths hit the floor. The last time they saw me, I was over 300 pounds, man. 317 to be exact, back in February. Got on the scale earlier this week at 209. I'm down 108 pounds with Awaken 180 weight loss, and that's in 8 months. 8 months, 108 pounds. The best weight loss program I've ever been on. Guys, if you need to lose 100 pounds like I did, if you need to lose 20 pounds, any point in between, take it from somebody who has had their life changed on this program. And go to awaken180weightloss.com, awaken180weightloss.com. They're changing lives. They're saving lives. I know this because I'm one of them. You could be the next. Trust me. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Thousands of people in Duval County suffer from Alzheimer's. To join the Walk to End Alzheimer's at UNF, November 9th, visit alz.org/Jacksonville Walk.
You can make a difference in the lives of people living with lung cancer. To join the American Lung Association at the Lung Force Walk at UNF November 16th, log on to lungforce.org/Jacksonville.
The Farm Share Thanksgiving Distribution Drive-Thru event is Saturday, November 23rd at the FSCJ downtown campus, starting at 8:30 a.m. until the food runs out. Call 328-6158.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating to a local blood donation center.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank NA, member FDIC.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On October 31st, 2004, the Pittsburgh Steelers snapped the New England Patriots' NFL record 21-game winning streak, defeating the Patriots 34-20.
Atlantic Self-Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self-Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving? They can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
Got a cracked windshield? Not only is it dangerous, but did you know it's also illegal? Call Baker Glass. Mack and his crew use the best auto glass in the market, and they accept most insurance. Plus, all new windshields come with a full warranty. From cars, to trucks, to RVs, you can count on Baker Glass to be fast and friendly. Just check out their Google reviews. Come see us at the shop on Casta Avenue, or we can come to you at your home or business.
I'm Mac with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
What is the only team in the NFL to neither host nor play in the Super Bowl? The answer coming up.
Having the right homeowner's policy protection means you're staying on top of your most valuable possession, your home. For information on finding an agent, go to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
The only team in the NFL that hasn't hosted or played in the Super Bowl? The Cleveland Browns.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours. If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjacks.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Eagles come up this Sunday. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL radio. The Jaguars 2-6. That's their reality. They got 9 games to go. Can they turn it around? Can they look respectable, or is there very little hope left? Well, we'll talk about all of that with my buddy Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He joins us every week here on Hacker After Dark. Cecil, how are you, man?
I'm well. How about yourself?
Cecil, we're good. Boy, another heartbreaker last week. And I don't know about you, but watching that game for me against Green Bay, that felt like the last gasp, right? Like the death rattle, if you will. Losing that game in that fashion. Doug Peterson after the game used terms like heartbroken, devastated. Christian Kirk is out for the year after that game. It felt like, Cecil, 9 games to go, yes, but that felt like kind of the end of any hope in 2024. What was your thought?
I couldn't agree with you more. You were in the game. You're playing a really good opponent, an opponent that's probably in the Super Bowl contender category, one of the top teams in the NFC, and you were right with them toe-to-toe up until the end. And it seems like things are just not going your way this year. It just seems like it's just not meant to be. And you mentioned there's 9 games left. Well, your next 4 games, Eagles, Vikings, Lions, Texans, like their combined record, all of them have more than 5 wins right now. They're like, it's incredible, the gauntlet they're about to go through. And if you can just figure out a way to win 2 of the past 3 games, I would have more hope. But it's just hard for me to see right now. The season, honestly, seems like it's over. It's never over till it's over, right? I told you before, I've been a part of a team that was started off 2-5, ended up winning the AFC South and going to the playoffs. But when you're 2-6 and you have this gauntlet of games coming up and you Christian Kirk is hurt and you're just not finding ways to win, it's hard to think in a positive manner right now. So I'm with you, man. I think you are what your record says you are.
It was hard to see Christian Kirk get hurt again. We know how hard he tried to get back towards the end of last year, and there was a lot of hope for him coming into this season, and he played very well at times. But another season-ending injury. I mean, you've lived that life, 7 years in the NFL for yourself. I mean, how tough was that to see Christian Kirk go out for the 2nd straight year?
It sucks, man. Like, it's just not something you want to wish on any player at any time, especially a guy like Christian Kirk who's come in and given your all. Never been a problem in the locker room, never been a problem anywhere. Been in the community, worked his butt off. Paid him big money, had big expectations, had a really good, I want to say, first year. And then the last couple of years just been rough when it comes to the injuries. So now, as you know, it's next man up. Parker Washington had a real big game in London the last time they played. So hopefully he can come in and do some things. But it's tough just to see a good guy kind of back-to-back years just get the lesser end of the stick.
Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts with us here on 1010XL. Cecil, if memory serves, talking to you last year, you're pretty high on Parker Washington, correct?
Yeah, Houston guy. I got a chance to train him once or twice when he was before he went to Penn State. So it was pretty cool to see kind of things develop for him. And I think he's a guy that can fill Christian Kirk's role, explosive player. Really can be good in that slot. I'm not sure if he's as fast as Christian was, but he definitely can move and make some plays. And he's making a mark this year. Little chances he is getting when the ball's in his hands, he can make some plays. So I am a fan of Parker Washington.
I hate to be this guy, but we got to start looking towards the future a little bit as well. I mean, it's finances, right? I mean, Parker Washington is younger and cheaper. And if he comes in the next 9 games and shows that he can do some things, I mean, that probably is going to determine a lot of Christian Kirk's future here in Jacksonville, correct?
It's a business, brother. You said it perfectly. It's a business. So if Parker can come in and do his thing, now you got 2 guys for the cheaper end, right? You're not paying Brian Thomas a ton of money like you would if you had to pay him in free agency, right? You're not paying Parker Washington a ton of money. He's a 5th-round pick. So you can have 2 guys kind of on their rookie deals playing well for you. That's in your favor. You will get rid of the guy that can't stay healthy and that has the big contract, right? Hate to say it that way and put it that way, but that's just how the NFL business works.
You know, Cecil, it was interesting. We talked about Roy Robertson-Harris getting traded earlier this offseason and what kind of message that sent to the locker room. Well, now Cam Robinson gets traded as well for a 2026 mid-round selection, which, again, is interesting for a guy that was a starting tackle for you for many years. Cecil, what kind of message does that send to the locker room? 2 starters gone now in the last 2.5 weeks.
I tell you what, when you trade a starter for a pick that happens in 2 years, that starter is not too, let's say he's not highly thought of right now. Let's just say he's not in a position where they think very highly of him. They want to, let's move him on out to a needy team that needs a tackle, and they lost their tackle, right? The Vikings did. Let's get what we can from them, and then, kind of move on. And that tells the locker room, honestly, okay, if I'm in the locker room, I'm like, okay, how much are we trying to win right now? Right. Or how much we have. I wouldn't say we threw the towel in, but you got to look at it realistically. We're 2-6. He's not playing well. Probably moving somebody else there. What else can happen? You know what I mean? I think the deadline's next Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if more things start to happen from there. If I'm a player in the locker room, I'm thinking, okay, who could be next? Because it's going to be hard. We talked about it. It's your next 4 games: Eagles, Vikings, Lions, Texans. That's going to be hard. You may not win another game. You can win 4 games. Like, you just don't know, right? But it's going to be a gauntlet. And when you see that in the locker room, you're thinking, okay, who's next? Are we trying to win? And what's the future hold?
Couple of more for former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. Cecil, the best pass rushers in the league, the ones that are getting paid like the best pass rushers in the league. We see what T.J. Watt means to Pittsburgh. You look at a guy like Nick Bosa in San Francisco, Hutchinson before the injury in Detroit, right? And then Hines Allen here in Jacksonville. And I got to tell you, I don't think anybody is above criticism at this point. Boy, Joshua Hines Allen signed a really large contract, Cecil, this offseason. It hasn't been good, right? Am I being too hard there? Or, I mean, what's your take on that?
You're being gentle. When you give a guy that much money, you expect to get that much in return when it comes to his production on the field. And it just hasn't been happening. It just hasn't been happening. And that's the worry you get, right? When you get a guy that plays his best football in his contract year. Can he do it again? It wasn't really in his resume that he was that much of a big caliber sack guy over and over and over again. So when you give a guy that contract, that's the risk you take. So hopefully he can turn it around, but he has not lived up to expectations in any type of any type of manner. So it's been disappointing to watch, and hopefully he can get it going these last 8 or 9 games.
You were here with Malarkey, right, in 2012. Was your first year, 2011, was that JDR, the year he got fired?
2011 was, yes, JDR. It sure was.
Okay, so you lived this, right? I mean, you got all the
Yes.
hot seat talk about Doug Peterson, the hot seat talk about Trent Baalke. Players hear that stuff, right? I mean, take us back to your situation in 2011 and 2012. I mean, what's the conversation when people know there's, quote, noise in the system about the head coach and the general manager?
It's interesting. It's interesting because you start to hear rumblings from players. You hear rumblings from, of course, the media. You're hearing rumblings from maybe people inside that you're close with, whether it's scouts or whatever the case may be. Man, it's a crazy thing to be in, and coaches can feel it coming, right? I remember JDR coming in late at times, and they're like, "What's going on? What's happening?" So you can feel it coming, and it's not a good feeling. And when you're in that hole where you're not sure if the head coach is going to be back, you just know your organization is not necessarily in a good space. And with Shad Khan coming out and saying, "Hey, this is our best roster maybe ever assembled before the season started," and now you're 2-6 right now. This is no good. So I wouldn't be surprised if things get I know usually at the end of the year it's Black Monday and coaches are getting fired. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear rumblings or if you see things happen a little earlier than on a Black Monday.
Cecil, they play a game on Sunday, right? We're 10 minutes into the conversation. We haven't talked about Philadelphia yet. Boy, at Philadelphia, that's I know they say any given Sunday, anything can happen, and I guess that's true, right? We saw Cleveland beat Baltimore, so there's always hope, but this would be a pretty unbelievable win if they pull this off on Sunday, correct?
It's going to be hard. Philly's playing really good ball right now. Jalen Hurts is playing he's like the MVP Jalen Hurts we saw a couple years ago. He's really playing at a high level. The guys are healthy. It seems like Nick Sirianni's got them guys playing good ball the last 3 or 4 games, and they're figuring out how to win. And it's going to be hard to go up there in Philly, a very tough environment, and come out with a victory. But I'll be honest with you, if the ball rolls a couple different ways, you don't fumble here, you don't do this there, no turnover here, or stop them here. You're instead of these 2-6, you might be 5-3, right? But you are what your record says, so it's going to be hard to win up there. It's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. Are they still going to fight? Are they still going to go play with great effort and great attitude, or are the guys going to kind of fold and let the season go with the 9 games left? So it'll be interesting to watch how this game goes from the Jaguars' point of view.
Final moments, a former Jaguar wide receiver, Cecil Short. Cecil, you're also a former Houston Texan. You do a lot of work with the Texans organization, certainly. And look, talk about a devastating injury last week. Stephon Diggs, an ACL. Houston's playing the Jets right now on Thursday Night Football. I mean, what's your take on the Stephon Diggs injury and what that's going to mean for Houston down the stretch here?
It's interesting. He came in from day one and made an impact with how hard he was working. He's the captain. First year, not even a year, right? But the first 4 or 5 months, he was voted captain. That says a lot about how he worked, how he carried himself. And he was a guy that was leading the team in catches. You know what I mean? 7th in the league in catches. Now, I personally think he's not a number 1 receiver anymore after watching him for 7 or 8 weeks. He just didn't have that top of the line speed. Didn't really have that down the field action like he used to, but he was catching the ball, man, making tough catches, getting open over the middle of the field. He was your heartbeat when Nico was out. And for him to get out, for him to be out right now really hurts the offense that wasn't playing up to their potential yet. So you already have Nico out for a couple weeks, but he'll be back soon. It's a hamstring for him, and he's progressing well. But you haven't really used Tank Dell as we thought you would. Right, the offensive line struggled in pass protection, so it's going to be interesting to see how they try to run the offense without Tank Dell and without Nico Collins right now. So tonight should be very interesting. They can continue to separate themselves in the AFC South and put themselves in good position for the total AFC picture, or they could not play well tonight. And I think you'll really miss Stephon Diggs. I think you'll see that tonight, but you'll really miss Stephon Diggs moving forward, and those young guys got to step up. The John Mechie's, the Tank Dells, the Dalton Schultz as a tight end, Damian Pierce, a running back. You got Xavier Hutchinson, guy from Iowa State from a couple years ago. These young receivers and playmakers need to step up and really help out the offense.
And finally, Cecil, you talk about an interesting week in the AFC South, all the drama here in Jacksonville. The Titans are hot garbage. Stephon Diggs is out for the year in Houston, and Anthony Richardson gets flat-out benched in Indianapolis, man. Your reaction to Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson benched in Indy?
RG, you saw him at Florida, RG. Like, what did the coach think they were getting? Like, yeah. He'll have one decent game and then one terrible game at Florida. He have one crazy athletic play, and then the next game he looks like he can't hit a side of a barn with a rock, right? So when you draft a guy at number 4 with his, obviously he has tons of capabilities, right? Tons of attributes you love. But as a quarterback, he needs to be developed. So if you're coming in thinking he's going to start from day one, that's your mistake, Indianapolis. You should have had a plan to make sure, hey, if he's not ready, let's sit him down. Let's sit him completely down until he's absolutely ready. He can read coverages. He understands what to do with the football, how to get it out quickly. Because he can be an athlete, right? But if he's going to be an athlete and do all that stuff, you can just have a package for him. But if you want him to play down to down and be the guy, you got to develop him. And I think not enough teams are taking the time to develop their quarterbacks. I will always go back to looking at the Green Bay Packers. When Brett Favre was there, they drafted a guy first round named Aaron Rodgers. He sat the bench for 2 or 3 years. Sat the bench. And Aaron Rodgers has an outstanding, he'll be a Hall of Famer. Then that's next up. Aaron Rodgers is getting older. They draft Jordan Love. Sat the bench for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. In the last 2 years, Jordan Love looked outstanding, right? You got to take time. Even Patrick Mahomes sat the dang on bench. He sat the bench behind Alex Smith. That was Alex Smith's best year. As a Chief, that was his best year. He sat the bench behind Alex Smith. Patrick Mahomes did. And then he came into the play. Like, you have to really develop and teach your quarterbacks. Everybody's not C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels. That's an anomaly, right? It's unrealistic expectations for these guys. Now, I blame the organizations. You knew coming in, it was a project working with Anthony Richardson, period. You couldn't, if you didn't think he was a project, you don't know ball. There's no way in the 13 games he played at Florida, there's no way you thought he was a surefire ready at day one. He's going to play. Let's go. No, he needs to be developed. He needs to be in a certain type of offense, right? And I love Steichen. I think he did some good things in Philly with Jalen Hurts, but he needs more time to develop, more time to how to be a pro. Now, if I'm the coach, I'm really sitting him down, me personally, probably for the rest of the year, and teaching him and learning from Flacco and teaching him. And then next year, all right, if he's ready, let's rock and roll. But how they're doing it now, in and out. He's been injured so much already. Nobody can get better when you're injured. Nobody can. Like, it's just hard. You can take all the mental reps you want to, but until you get out there in the game, there's no simulation for game reps. So until he gets out there in the game and can actually do it and it slows down for him, that's what he needs.
You live by drafting quarterbacks, you die by drafting quarterbacks. Just look at 2023. C.J. Stroud's amazing in Houston. Bryce Young benched, Anthony Richardson benched, and Will Levis is not very good in Nashville. It is just crazy how much those picks mean for years and years down the road. Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is with us every week here on Hacker After Dark. Cecil, have a happy Halloween. Enjoy your weekend, brother. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, RG. Appreciate you, man.
There you go. Cecil Shorts here with us every week on Hacker After Dark. Always appreciate Cecil taking time out. Back into the Jags and the Eagles coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll actually go up to Philadelphia. Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com. He covers the league nationally for CBS Sports. He's based in Philadelphia, so we'll obviously get the Eagles' perspective from Jeff Kerr coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, let's get into the cocktail party here in Jacksonville, Florida, Georgia, and let's do it with one of my favorites, Mike Huguenin. The man has covered college football for years. I call him a college football encyclopedia. That's what he is, and I love talking ball with him. He's next on a Thursday night here on Hacker After Dark with JJ LaSelva. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
Get inside the mind of the QB with Denny Thompson, the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, I want to tell you what's really happening at the quarterback position.
He shares his insights Friday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by Tyson Sound and Security and George Moore Chevrolet.
Hacker here. And guys, the countdown is over. I didn't just hit the 100-pound mark. I blew past it thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. 107 pounds gone just like that. More weight than a quarter keg of beer. Speaking of beer, here's where it gets fun. We're throwing a big celebration at Mr. Chubby's Wings in Ponte Vedra Beach. Yeah, you heard that right. A weight loss party at Mr. Chubby's. The irony's juicier than their wings, but here's the thing. I can celebrate at Mr. Chubby's and still keep the pounds off. If you didn't know, yes, wings are still on the menu while losing weight with Awaken 180 weight loss. Join me in 1010XL on November 9th for the Florida and Texas game, and you could win a spot at my table. Food is included. There'll be ticket giveaways and more for the celebration. If I can shed a whole Mr. Chubby and still throw a party at one, what's holding you back? Call Awaken 180, 844-346-1800, or hit up Awaken180weightloss.com, and let's get it done.
The Jaguars are facing off against the Minnesota Vikings Sunday, November 10th for the Jag Salute to Service game. See the Shell White alternative helmets in action for the first time and join us in honoring our military all game long. Kickoff is 1 p.m. Don't miss this matchup and lock in your tickets now by visiting jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you at the bank.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley.
Hi, Ken.
Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see. Hard water. Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka?
Last chance, Dennis. What is hard water?
Oh, is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty? That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey, Hicken here. I want to talk skin along with my friends at Beaches Dermatology, reminding you to wear your sunscreen. Football season is back, baby. And with that, days under that bright sun. So when you load up that truck for the game day tailgate, or the chairs for your kids' flag games, or even the boat heading downtown to watch our Jags, make sure you bring the screen. Sunscreen, that is. It's a must here in Duval. But if you have any concerns right now, give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
It's soccer around the world, and here at home on the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour on 1010XL. Join Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burley for Soccer Talk.
Tuesday nights at 6
on 1010 AM.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Need to enhance your home's curb appeal? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Replacing with new stone pavers will transform your driveway into a stunning work of art. Say goodbye to unsightly concrete and hello to beautiful, durable pavers that last for years. Visit Stonecore today and let's beautify your home together. Stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Hi Jags fans, Walker Little here for my friends at Kingfish Pest Control. Playing offensive line in the NFL, I must block and protect on every down. When it comes to keeping my home pest-free, I expect that same level of protection. So I contacted Kingfish after seeing thousands of positive online customer reviews about their service. I can confirm from personal experience, bugs don't stand a chance getting past Kingfish Pest Control. Do what I did. Reach out to Kingfish Pest Control to protect your home, a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality product and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Florida, Georgia, Saturday, 3:30. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL radio. Georgia comes in among the top 5 teams in the country. Florida comes in at 4-3, although that's probably a little bit better than some Gator fans probably envisioned about a month ago. Let's talk about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party and other aspects of the college football game with my buddy Mike Huguenin. He's covered the college football landscape for years. I call him a college football encyclopedia, and Mike is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mike, how are you, pal?
I'm doing quite well. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, Mike, we always thank you for the time. All right, let's begin with the Gators. You and I spoke after the A&M game, and at that point it was dead man walking for Billy Napier. But all of a sudden, you know, they beat Mississippi State, they beat UCF, they probably should have beat Tennessee, and they didn't. And then they destroy Kentucky. All of a sudden, Mike, 4-3, Billy, I don't know if he's turning a corner, but certainly the guys are still playing very hard for him.
They are playing hard, and that's a selling point. So I would argue that, yeah, they're 4-3. They have not beaten anyone of note. They got blown out by Miami, blown out by Texas A&M, teams that are in the top 10. Should have beaten Tennessee, another team in the top 10. But I guess my thought process in this is, does Billy Napier deserve another year if he's only beating the teams he should beat? This is year 3, not year 1 or 2. Obviously, the closing stretch, other than the game against Florida State, is extremely difficult, and I think his job is still up in the air. But nothing that I've seen this year would lead me to say he deserves another season.
It's interesting you say that, and there's obviously a lot of people that agree with you. I will say this. I've killed Billy Napier when he's been losing, so I've given him a little bit of credit the last couple of weeks. And like we said, the noise in the system, right? The famous Ron Zook quote, the noise in the system. It would have been very easy for this team to tune Billy out, to tune that staff out. Like we said, they're still playing hard. And my criteria for Billy coming into the year, Mike, win some games, but show some improvement as the year goes on. And primarily on defense, there's no doubt they are clearly better defensively now than they were a month ago.
To a point, I agree. I think, though, that the last 2 wins in particular, UCF's offense is horrendous. And Kentucky's offense is worse. Kentucky's offense is garbage. So shutting down those 2 teams in the manner in which they did in a vacuum, their defense, the Florida defense, looked really good. But let's see what happens when they play teams that have an offensive pulse. I don't think they can beat Georgia. I think they can potentially do some things that mess with Georgia. Georgia, for instance, still can't cover a wheel route out of the backfield. So let's see if Napier has DJ Lagway throw some wheel routes out of the backfield. And shutting down Georgia would be vastly more impressive than shutting down UCF and shutting down Kentucky.
Mike Hugan in here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, you mentioned DJ Lagway. What's been your thought on the freshman quarterback?
I think that he was brought along nicely. I think if he had been thrown into the mix immediately, like he's our starter, that would have been a gigantic disaster. I think Napier actually deserves credit for the way he brought Lagway along. I think Lagway looked poised against Kentucky, even though he only completed 50% of his passes. The passes he completed were gigantic chunk plays. Would Mertz still be starting if Mertz were healthy? Yeah, I think so. But I think there are some things that Lagway still cannot do. He has shown a propensity to throw picks. I think his comfort level in the pocket is not what it needs to be yet, but I think conversely they could use his legs a little bit more in terms of moving him around in the pocket, getting him on the edge and throwing the ball, that kind of stuff. But I think Lagway has so far, he's on his way to living up to the 5-star hype. He throws a phenomenal deep ball. And if I'm a Florida wide receiver, I'm excited that Lagway is the quarterback because the ball is getting deeper down the field.
Does the future of DJ Lagway and wanting him to remain in Gainesville, does that weigh on your mind at all when it comes to the future of Billy Napier?
Yeah, I think that there is a legitimate question what happens next year. If Napier comes back, is Lagway still there? If Napier leaves, is Lagway still there? The NIL aspect obviously hovers over everything, and my presumption is no matter who the coach is, DJ Lagway will be well taken care of in Gainesville if he stays. He also will be well taken care of if he decides to transfer, because I don't think you can look at Lagway and say this guy, give him another year and a half, and oh my goodness, he might be the best quarterback in the country, because he has those kind of traits. So I'm sure that will come into play when it comes to should we keep Billy Napier or not. But I would argue that let's say Florida doesn't win out. Loses out even to FSU. And, okay, well, oh my goodness, if we fire Napier, is Lagway going to go? I think in that instance you're like, big deal. We can't keep this guy on. It will be interesting to see, if they go 6-6 or 7-5 if Lagway does stay. But again, I'll believe the fact that they go 6-6 or 7-5 when I see it, because I'm not sure this team has the capability to finish with a winning record, even though they're 4-3 right now.
Mike, from the Georgia side of things, this wasn't, to me, a great Georgia team, right? I mean, they were awful in the first 3 quarters against Alabama until they decided to look like Georgia. They survived Kentucky. They didn't play very well against Mississippi State. But, man alive, that last time out in Austin against Texas, that looked like the Georgia Bulldogs. So they're obviously coming in with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, they looked like they were supposed to for 3 quarters of that game. Still have not played a full 4 quarters. Clemson, ironically, the season opening game, I would argue, that was the closest they've come to playing 4 quarters of high-level football. They played a phenomenal first half against Texas. I'm not sure a team could play better defensively. They overran the Texas offensive line, harassed Ewers, harassed Arch Manning, shut down the run, were vastly faster and vastly more physical. I think in the second half they sort of took their foot off the gas a little bit. I still don't think this is a very good this is not an elite offensive team. Defensively, I think they showed against Clemson and against Texas that, yeah, they have the capability of shutting down high-level foes. But you mentioned Mississippi State. Mississippi State's horrible and scored 31 points on them. And, you're not going to play great every time out, but, they didn't even play 2 good quarters against Mississippi State. So this is still an extremely talented team. The running game remains a concern. And despite what Kirby Smart says, the receiving core is noticeably worse than last year's. Well, that shouldn't be surprising. Bowers is gone and McConkey's gone. I'm not sure they have a true number 1 receiver, but it's still a talented team. The offensive line, I'm a little bit surprised, has not been as dominant as I expected. But defensively, again, last week or the last game out against Texas, the first 2 quarters were awe-inspiring, frankly. And if you were an opposing team watching Georgia's defense in the first half against Texas, I think you came away going, doggone, those dudes are good. The question is, can they play 4 good quarters of that? I don't think they need 4 good quarters to beat Florida, but eventually they're going to need to play 4 good quarters of football. They have not done that yet.
Mike Huguenin has covered the world of college football for years. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, Florida State, I'm 41 years old, and I got to tell you, man, and my football memory goes back to probably 1990. This is the worst Florida State team I've ever seen, particularly on the offensive end. I keep waiting for the light to go on, and it's just simply not going on. They're awful. And quite frankly, they're lucky to have won a game. Cal outplayed them. They probably should be 0-8.
Right, and I'm old enough, unfortunately, to remember the team that went 0-11 under Larry Jones, and that team was horrendous. But this team is horrendous in different ways, especially if I'm an FSU fan, the idea that this team or this program was 13-0 last season, and now it's sitting here looking like perhaps the worst team in Power 4. They are really, really bad offensively. Defensively, they've done some okay things at times. I mean, they should have beaten Duke. You hold a team to 180 yards of offense, how do you lose? Well, because your offense, I called Kentucky's offense garbage before. FSU's offense is garbage that's on fire. It is really, really bad. The offensive line is abysmal. The receiving core, I'm not sure it even has a number 2 receiver. So they're looking for, who's their go-to guy? We're 3 quarters of the way through the season. I don't think FSU even knows who potentially could be a go-to guy. I think Toafili is a solid running back. He's wasted in this offense. The quarterback play has been god-awful. The tight end play has been god-awful. The play calling has been not very good, I don't think. But again, it's hard to fathom that this team was 13-0 in the regular season last year and is this bad right now because it's horrendous. And if I'm an FSU fan, I'm like, what exactly has gone on? It's like every single switch in the building has been turned off. It's at times they're painful to watch offensively.
I mean, they're going to go 2-10 or 3-9 more than likely. Norvell's not in any trouble, though, right?
No, they can't afford the buyout. I mean, they just gave him a new deal, a 10-year deal. The buyout is, I think, $65 million. But it's sort of, this looks Chizik-esque. You know, Gene Chizik won the national title in 2010 and was fired 2 years later. But he was not owed what Norvell is owed, and FSU is not swimming in money. But next year, there needs to be vast improvement next year, or I think the Norvell clock has stopped running. He's going to face a ton of pressure in the offseason. What do you do with your staff? You had trouble recruiting to a team that went 13-0. Where are you going to go? How are you going to recruit to a team that goes 2-10 or 3-9? The recruiting class, the players are falling by the wayside on a weekly basis. He's going to have to mine the transfer portal, and he was phenomenal in the transfer portal the first 3 years he was there. This past off season, the portal was I don't think they brought in. You looked at the production they got from the portal this year, they would have been better signing high school kids to do this. At least they're getting better, presumably, because a lot of these portal guys they brought in, I'm not sure any of these guys are ever going to make an impact, ever.
Mike, final question. We'll end with Miami. We got about 2 minutes to go. 8-0. You look at their remaining schedule. From this point forward, it would be a borderline disaster if they didn't end up in the playoff, correct?
Yeah, I think you can lose the ACC title game if it's to Clemson and still get in. Your seeding would be impacted. I still wonder about Miami's defense. It has not looked good at varying times. I mean, they could be sitting here with 3 losses. The Cal win easily could have been a loss if they had called targeting. The Virginia Tech, the reversal of the touchdown catch was interesting to say the least. Louisville got in a shootout with them. FSU made them work for 2.5 quarters, which was about 2.5 quarters longer than I thought. FSU would last week, but Miami, if they don't get to a playoff, sitting here right now unbeaten. If they don't get to the playoffs, something has gone massively wrong.
The man is an absolute college football encyclopedia. My buddy Mike Huguenin. Mike, always appreciate the time. Know you're busy. Thank you, pal. We'll talk again soon.
Excellent. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Jags head coach Doug Peterson tells you what you need to know about Sunday's game.
They believe in themselves. They believe in his team.
Fridays at 4:05 on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, custom windows and doors on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Let's start the debate. Why would someone buy a new car from you? We have an exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on every new vehicle. We offer a competitive wow price plus free oil changes. How much will someone get for their trade? We offer more than $4,000 over KBV value. Well, we never lose a trade over price. Okay, when is the best time to buy a car? Right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter which side you pick. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, you get it all. Let us show you why we're the winning vote.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents in 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A. member FDIC.
Attention skilled electricians, are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just a job, but an experience, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Total Wine and More is having a Taste of Town November 8th and 9th from noon to 6 both days. Enjoy great liquor brands, craft beer, and more. Brackish Vodka is excited to announce 6 additional flavors, and all can be sampled and purchased at the Total Wine and More Taste of Town November 8th and 9th. Come to Total Wine at the Town Center and sample great local brands. Brackish Vodka is a proud partner of the Jaguars and proud to be supporting the Taste of Town.
Googan Nation, it's Dreamfinders Danny Hicken here to tell you this is no dream. The folks at Dreamfinders Homes right now have an unbeatable interest rate for you. You may not think you can afford a Dreamfinders home. Well, think again. Take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. I said it, 2.99%. 15 Jacksonville communities to choose from. Find that dream house and take advantage of an unbeatable rate. Move now, literally. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjacks.com.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hicken here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Find your why with membership at the First Coast YMCA. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Come try free access to your local Y every Wellness Wednesday this month. Check out our fitness classes, swimming, pickleball, youth sports, and so much more for free every Wednesday in October. Plus, we'll waive the join fee when you become a member this month. Get active, be social, live healthier, and discover all the benefits of YMCA membership at your local Y or visit fcymca.org.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com. 1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you to 10 o'clock tonight, as we do each and every night here. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, we will go to Philadelphia. My buddy Jeff Kerr is a national writer for CBSSports.com, but he lives in Philadelphia. So we'll talk to Jeff not only about the Eagles, certainly, but look around the rest of the NFL. So some NFL talk with Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com comes up in less than 15 minutes. Also towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, Mike Bratton. He of That SEC Podcast. That SEC Podcast. It's one of my favorites, and we'll talk to Michael about that SEC conference and where it stands. Not only Florida, Georgia here on Saturday, but obviously what it looks like with the playoff teams remaining. And if you really look at the playoff scenarios in the Southeastern Conference, there's still, 6 teams that you can make an argument are still alive? You obviously have Georgia and Texas and Tennessee. You got those 3. Alabama still very much alive. I would say Texas A&M still very much alive. And then you get to LSU and Ole Miss. And I think one could argue LSU is still alive by a thread. Ole Miss, yeah, maybe. Again, kind of like LSU by a thread. But that's the beauty about the 12-team playoff, right? I mean, here we are. November 1st is tomorrow. And at least in our neck of the woods, the Southeastern Conference, you still could make the argument that almost half the conference is still alive for a potential national championship. No way, no how could you have said that prior to this year, entering the month of November. So, again, just goes to show you how great the 12-team playoff is. You know, you think about like the Atlantic Coast Conference, right? Outside of Clemson and Miami, that's it, right? I guess Pitt would still be alive. They're undefeated, certainly. That's a big game. JJ, I know that it's an ACC battle every time Pitt and SMU get together. But as a Miami guy like yourself, obviously focusing on Clemson, and I think you guys are going to have a head-on collision with Clemson in the ACC championship game, you still have an undefeated Pitt taking on a one-loss SMU in a game that no one's talking about, and yet is a pretty big game in the Atlantic Coast Conference on Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't really know much about Pitt at all. I know that they played Syracuse and they had like 9 pick sixes on Friday.
They're the quietest undefeated team left in the country. They are the quietest undefeated team left. No, I don't know much about them either, other than Narduzzi's a great coach. But everybody's talking about Clemson and Miami, and you're right, that Pitt defense is wild. And SMU, I mean, they beat Florida State by 26. They are making themselves very much at home in the ACC in year number 1. But again, it's the classic ACC matchup with Pitt and SMU. Big implications on Saturday. In the Big Ten, it's all about Ohio State, Penn State. Noon kick for Ohio State and Penn State this weekend. Winner of that game, inside track to the playoff, inside track to the Big Ten championship. Obviously a big game for James Franklin and Penn State. And then the Big 12, you just kind of throw up your hands. I guess it's BYU, right? And if it's not BYU, I really don't know who the second best team in that conference would be. BYU currently undefeated. So the playoff is going to be wild. You just had your first rankings come out earlier this week, and the games will be magnified as we get deeper into the year. But clearly, it's going to be a lot of fun down the home stretch. That includes right here in Jacksonville on Saturday with Florida and Georgia. Other games in the state, you got North Carolina and Florida State. And I said this earlier tonight. I've been bitten by thinking Florida State's going to finally turn that corner. I picked them to beat SMU, and they lost by 26. I picked them to beat Duke, and that obviously didn't work out. I'm not picking them anymore, man. I'm done. It is the worst FSU team I've ever seen in my lifetime. I was born in 1983. My first college football memory is probably 1990. I mean, obviously, Florida State was cooking by that point. But even in the tail end of the Bowden years, even in the very lean Willie Taggart years, Florida State, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but even those teams were head and shoulders, man, head and shoulders better than this team. And quite frankly, Florida State's lucky to be 1-7. You could argue the one game that they won, Cal outplayed them and just messed up in the red zone and didn't put points on the board, and thus Florida State was able to win the game. Florida State very easily could be 0-8. Instead, they're 1-7. 4 games left. They'll beat Charleston Southern because, well, it's Charleston Southern. But their last 3 games in the Power 4 are North Carolina, at Notre Dame, and Florida. Are they going to win any of those Power 4 games? I'll give them maybe one of them. I think Florida State is staring at 3-9 in the face. And what is maybe the biggest disappointment for Florida State football in the last, 50 years? 40 years? It's been nuts. And JJ, as far as your Hurricanes, man, I mean, at this point, it would be a disaster if they didn't make the playoff. We got games against Duke, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse. You'll be probably double-digit favorites in all those games. Then you'll play Clemson more than likely in the ACC championship game. But even then, if you were to lose that game, odds are in a 12-1 Miami team would still get in to the playoff. I mean, what a year for Cristobal, JJ. Comes in on the hot seat like Napier and now is living the dream and speaking directly to recruits in the post-game press conference last week about the trajectory of Miami compared to that of Florida and Florida State. Man, you must be very pleased.
Yeah, a lot of work to be done. I wouldn't call it a disaster if they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, they smashed Florida and they smashed Florida State.
No, I'm just talking about from here out. At 8-0, with the 4 teams that they have left, they're double digit. I mean, if they lose to Wake Forest,
if Miami loses one of these 4 games, I would never consider this season to be a disaster.
Interesting.
Sorry.
All right, I guess that's a different perspective. From my perspective, knowing they're going to play 4 teams that are unranked and knowing they've already gotten through the hard part of their schedule, which was that trip to Cal, which was Louisville, which we thought would have been Florida and Florida State, but that didn't materialize. Maybe disaster is too strong. I would call it a disappointment.
Yeah. Losing any game you're favored by is a disappointment.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to I think Cristobal has done an absolutely fantastic job. And from a petty point of view, I kind of love what he did last week, even though I don't like it because it was kind of talking bad about Florida and Florida State. But the recruiting game is 24/7, 365. And when Cristobal stands in front of that podium in the post-game press conference, speaking directly to recruits, saying, we're better than the other 2 teams in the state. Look at us. Look at them. Man, that gives you chills as a Miami fan because that's exactly what they brought Cristobal in to do, and he's doing a very good job of that. More college football talk coming up. Mike Bratton, that SEC podcast towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. But let's get back into the National Football League. Let's go to Philadelphia. Jeff Kerr covers the NFL at large for CBSSports.com. He lives in the city of brotherly love, covering the Eagles as well. Let's talk Eagles. Let's talk Jaguars. And let's do it next. Thursday night, Hacker After Dark with JJ LaSelva. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Spend 2 hours talking teal every day on Jaguars Today. With Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. 10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Prosser here. I've been telling you for years about Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Football season finally upon us. Imagine watching your favorite team in your new Lifetime man cave, family hangout, or Lifetime's version of a she shed. And now Lifetime is expanding their replacement window division. Make your home energy efficient with their Energy Star rated windows. Enclosures, flooring, and windows to fit any and all budgets. Visit the showroom just off Phillips Highway. Proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let Lifetime be your home team.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
former Jaguars corner and first-year head football coach at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows, K-12, Aaron Beasley here. Are you looking for an A-rated K-12 school prioritizing academics, arts, and athletics? Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows offers a rigorous curriculum to develop strong minds with an additional focus on growing good hearts. DCSB has been an A school for 8 years, and our tuition is free. Now enrolling. Apply at baymeadowscharter.org.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost are the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by November 7th.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On October 31st, 2004, the Pittsburgh Steelers snapped the New England Patriots' NFL record 21-game winning streak, defeating the Patriots 34-20.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
Hey, Hicken here with a message from Zero Res. Can you believe they've been cleaning carpets in Jacksonville now for 20 years? Dave Benyon, his family, and staff are so grateful of things and appreciate you, their great customers. In fact, October's birthday month for Zero Res. So what are we doing for customers? Just say happy birthday, Zero Res, and we'll give you $50 off. That's $50 off carpet, tile, and grout, upholstery, or area rugs. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. You know, pool design has come a long way, and if your pool is outdated, Stanley Pools specializes in bringing older pools up to date for the whole family to enjoy. That's why I did it a few years ago, and man, I love the way my pool looks now after we added travertine pavers and so much else. Stanley Pools has been serving our community since 1988. So call them today at 269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. If I know anything about the fall, it's hunting season, it's cooler weather. People need to get off-road. What have you got to offer?
We've got the full line of Honda ATVs, the Foreman, the Rancher. We've got the side-by-sides, the Pioneers, the Talons, everything you need to get off-road.
And you can trick them out with all sorts of extras?
If you name it, you want the loud stereo, you want the cool light bar, we got it.
All right, look online, cyclesofjacksonville.com, or head to the showroom on Atlantic near Regency.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Eagles, Sunday at 4 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. The Eagles have kept up their end of the bargain. The Jaguars have not. Thus, this game was flexed off of Sunday Night TV. It's now Sunday at 4 o'clock. The Jaguars are 2-6 and in the conversation for the most disappointing teams in the National Football League. With that, my buddy Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com, does a terrific job covering the NFL. He's based up in the Philadelphia area, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Jeff, how we doing?
Pretty good, Ryan. Been a crazy week 8 for sure, but you know, funny thing you mentioned about the Jaguars, they're actually right now in a 5-way tie for 11th in the AFC, so don't hold out hope yet.
Yeah, it's bad. And you and I haven't spoken about a month and a half, and at that point there was still at least some hope that Jacksonville could turn this thing around. That hope is gone. That hope has been crushed. To me, it's been destroyed. They're 2-6. They've lost 4 games in literally the last 30 seconds. And you got Doug Peterson at his post-game press conference on Sunday using terms like devastating, heartbroken. You got serious injuries for the Jaguars. You got hot seat talk with both he and Trent Baalke. It's bad right here in Jacksonville. What's been your take on the whole situation?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I think it was before they beat the Patriots, I had Doug Pearson as the #1 head coach on my coaching hot seat rankings, and I update them every 2 weeks. I think I got to do it again this week. I can't remember if I did it last week or not, but yeah, Doug Pearson was my #1. It's been a really disappointing season for them. Just and like you said, all the close losses. You know, if you can just get half of them, all of a sudden you're looking at a 4-4 football team, and not that you're in the race, but you're definitely in the race for the wild card. I mean, look, Denver's 5-3, and they're the 5 seed right now. So there was a lot of opportunities that Jacksonville has squandered, and even though when it seems we're getting on the right track, like yesterday, for example, you have a Christian Kirk injury and a Brian Thomas injury, so it's going to be a tough sled for Jacksonville.
You know, you followed Doug Peterson during his time in Philadelphia very closely. You obviously know Doug Peterson. Let me ask you flat out, do you believe he deserves to be on the hot seat?
It's tough, right? You know, in Philadelphia, I never really thought he had the opportunity to kind of coach his way out of the disaster that was the 2020 season. And, you know, as we all know, what happened with Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, I don't want to say he was hell-bent on getting Carson Wentz fixed. That wasn't it. I think he was more – Doug Pearson's going to die on this hill with Press Taylor as his offensive coordinator. And I don't understand it. It cost him a job in Philadelphia. It's costing him a job in Jacksonville right now. I think he's a good coach, but if you're looking at the recent sample size of Jacksonville, I mean, they're challenging Carolina for like the worst team since week 12 or week 13 of last season. It's just since the opportunity they had to be the #1 seed in the AFC going into December, everything is just imploded there. And now Trevor Lawrence is finally starting to play like Trevor Lawrence again. But man, this team, they're such an I can't say the word enigma. You know, they're truly, I think, more talented than that record indicates.
Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com. Yeah, they're 3-11 in their last 14 regular season games. Jaguar owner Shad Khan earlier this year, Jeff, right around training camp, was on camera, and he doubled down twice. He said, I was not misquoted. This is the best team the Jaguars have ever had. Now, I think he probably meant to say since he took over. Certainly this is not the best team since the 1999 season. That 99 team was incredible. But one would think that he maybe heard that from general manager Trent Baalke, right? I mean, the general manager tells the owner it's the best team we've ever had. And I wonder, and some of the talk down here is it going to be a combo deal? If Peterson's gone, is Baalke gone too? I know that's desperately what the fan base wants, although Shad Khan has proven that's not necessarily always going to be the case. I mean, what is your thought there? If they blow Peterson out, should Baalke be gone too?
I agree, yeah. I don't think Trent Baalke should have another opportunity to hire a head coach if that's the route you're going to take. Look, and, you know, if you're going to fire Trent Baalke and keep Doug Pearson, then Doug Pearson's on the hot seat anyway, because the GM's going to be like, well, I didn't pick this guy. Why should I keep this guy around? So, yeah, it has to be a combo deal. You just have to hit the reset button. Look, you made your bet with Trevor Lawrence. And again, it's not Trevor Lawrence's fault. You know, you pay guys like Trevor Lawrence. You still think he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's doing better in his contract right now than Dak Prescott is in his. And you're seeing what the disaster Dallas is. But look, if you're Jacksonville right now, and I said this yesterday, just watching the game. When I saw Brian Thomas catch that touchdown pass, and you know, Ryan, I've been a big believer in him. You can fix a lot of things when you get the first round of the draft right, and they did this year. They got Brian Thomas in the early 20s. That can change a lot of things for a program, even though it doesn't look good this year. But it seems like at least this year they're getting that first round pick right. You got to figure out, though, if Trayvon Walker's going to be a guy, or if that's a guy that you can rely on. Right now, that's the issue with Jacksonville. It's just you got building blocks, but you have to find out how to put the whole thing together.
It was interesting that Doug Peterson at his presser, as we mentioned, was talking about terms like heartbroken and devastated after the loss to Green Bay. That's bad terminology to be using 9 games left in the year. But, Jeff, that is kind of what it felt like from my perspective. It was like the last gasp, right? Like the death rattle, if you will. If they beat Green Bay, like you said, they're right in the mix. But that loss to Green Bay combined with the injuries, they're now 2-6. The locker room was very solemn, I guess, on Sunday. And, again, a trip to Philadelphia is probably not a good recipe when you're coming off a loss like that this past Sunday.
Yeah, especially with the way the Eagles are playing right now. They're starting to figure things out, and you're going to Philadelphia for it. And like you said, Ryan, at the beginning of the segment, the game got flexed because of how Jacksonville's playing, not because of how Philadelphia's playing. So, yeah, it's they need to win Sunday. They are playing the Eagles are playing a very desperate team on Sunday. They have to win this game. If Jacksonville does not win this game, you're 2-7. You're pretty much out of it. I mean, I don't know how else you can go about that. And it's so different the way Jacksonville's talking than how Cincinnati was talking yesterday. Cincinnati just gets the doors blown off them in the second half. They fall to 3-5, and you got Joe Burrow saying, "Hey, look, 10 wins get you in. All you got to do is, we can do it. We can win 7 of our last 9. It's possible." Jacksonville, they played 8 games, so you got 9 left. You pretty much have to go 8-1 by that philosophy.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen here, I can assure you, because you look at the schedule Jacksonville has: Philadelphia, at Detroit. They still have Houston. They still have Minnesota. For all intents and purposes, the season is over. But let's focus on Philadelphia. You live up in that area. It didn't get off to a great start necessarily this year, Jeff, but as you mentioned, they seem to have found themselves as of late.
Yeah, so what happened was the Eagles had a big win in in Brazil against Green Bay, and they didn't play well, but they showed the potential of what they could be. Then A.J. Brown injures his hamstring in practice the next week, and, every time you hear hamstring injury, you start to worry. Well, I as much as I complained about it when they lost to Tampa Bay, I said that Thursday going into that game, you might as well just schedule it as a loss right now. They're going to the bye week, and it was a abject disaster from basically the first play. I mean, they looked terrible. You would never guess this team is playing this well a month later, but they are, and that's when you get A.J. Brown back and you get Devonta Smith back, and even Dallas Goedert and Jordan Mailata are hurt, but Jalen Hurts has been playing unbelievable football as of late. The defense really focused on tackling, focused on being in the right spots. And are they a great defense? No, but they're showing signs that they can at least be a good. Last year, that's what killed them. They were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. This year, just being mediocre is propelling this team to where they think they can go. And now you're starting to think, okay, where do the Eagles stack up with the Detroits of the NFC? Are they the second best team? Are they the third best team? Because they beat the Packers, right? So now you have to say to yourself, how far can this team go, and can this team take advantage of what's on their schedule right now?
Couple of more for Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com. Nick Sirianni, there was talk late last season, early this season, he might be in some trouble. I imagine that talk is probably dying down right now.
Yeah, it's dying down. Now, obviously, he'll grow with every loss the Eagles have. But, I mean, if they lose to Jacksonville on Sunday, that talk will probably come back. But, teams are going to have bad losses in this league. But the more Nick Sirianni wins, the talk does die down. But there are still some skeptics here that believe Nick Sirianni has to win at least one playoff game to keep his job. I mean, it's crazy, right? Because he has the highest win percentage of any coach in Eagles history. He's only behind Andy Reid in overall win percentage since the start of the 2022 season. Then you're talking about this. But, again, the Nick Sirianni experience is very interesting here in Philly. I mean, last week the guy is talking to you about how milk cleans up mucus. So, I mean, he's a very interesting guy. He's a quirky guy, but say what you want. His players play for him, and he does win.
Jaguars and the Eagles Sunday, 4 o'clock. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. Jeff, as far as the Eagles' perspective of this game, it got flexed out of Sunday night because the Jaguars are awful. The Jaguars are 2-6. The Jaguars are beat up. They're going to say all the right things, Philadelphia will, this week. Like, you can't take any team lightly, and you got to come to play every week. And that all sounds good and looks good in the paper. But at the end of the day, I mean, is there concern that they might overlook the Jaguars because of how bad Jacksonville's been playing?
I think the Eagles have the mindset they try not to overlook anybody, right? A lot of people thought they overlooked Cleveland after the bye week, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think they overlooked Cleveland. I just think that they were coming out of the bye week and they were still trying to get their timing right with a lot of things. They're a team, they don't really tend to overlook opponents that much. I thought they did last year when they played the Seahawks during their collapse. But again, there's a different mindset of that team. That team had internal problems. This team does not. I think this team feels right now, if they go out and do what they need to do, they're going to beat anybody. And, I mean, look, a lot of people thought they were going to lose to the Giants. I said, there's no way they're going to lose to the Giants. In fact, I actually called they were going to beat the Giants by 14 points. I underestimated them. They beat it by 25. And a lot of people didn't think they were going to beat Cincinnati. So, again, I'm sure everybody thinks they're going to beat the Jaguars as long as they don't read all the newspaper clippings. I know old school mentality here. I think they'll be fine. But Jalen Hurts and those guys, they seem to have the task at hand. Keep the main thing, and control what you can control, and that's what they're going to do this week.
Trust me, everybody down here thinks Philadelphia is going to beat the Jaguars too. So it's a common thought. As we begin to wrap up, Jeff, if Doug Peterson's time here in Jacksonville is coming to an end, and there is reason to believe that it will, it's sooner rather than later if this keeps up, is Ben Johnson the first phone call that Shad Khan needs to make?
Yeah, that's the guy you hand the blank check to, right? Ben Johnson turned down Washington, and Washington ended up getting Jaden Daniels. That seems like a pretty good job right now, but it seems like Ben Johnson just wants to pick the right spot, right? You just got to hope that it's like Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson chose Jacksonville. You got to hope the same with Ben Johnson. That we were talking about this here in Philly just a couple weeks ago. If Nick Sirianni would somehow just not get the job done this year and the Eagles wanted to move on, like, you would think Ben Johnson would want to sprint here with all the talent they have. But, I mean, Ben Johnson's the guy you go after. I feel like he's going to be the hottest head coaching prospect since who do you think's been the hotter head coaching prospect since? Like, maybe Chip Kelly when he was coming out of college?
Yeah, maybe. I know people were really high on D'Amico Ryans, but I can't remember. Ben Johnson's a guy that, like you said, has turned down jobs. So he's going to have his pick of the litter. And you piqued my interest there as we wrap up here, Jeff. You're an outside perspective. You live up in the northeast part of the country, so you're not obviously here in Jacksonville. If Jacksonville were to come calling, how appealing is this job, in your opinion?
I think with the Stadium of the Future coming and the security, they're going to stay in Jacksonville, and it's clear Shad Khan likes to spend money. I still think it's an appealing job, even though it just doesn't look at record-wise. Right? Like, you got a new practice facility. You got this stadium coming in. I mean, really, I think the only downside I think in the Jaguars job is you got to go to London twice a year. I mean, that might be the worst thing about this job right now. But when they got that whole stadium approved, I'm like, all right, this is awesome. This is something that the city wanted. This is something the franchise wanted. I mean, you could be Cleveland right now where they're flipping out because they're moving over to Berea County or something like that, or they're moving out of the city. Jacksonville found a way to stay in and improve the economy. Really, I guess the only bad part of the Jacksonville job is where are you going to play in 3 years when they're renovating the stadium?
Yeah, that's only a one-year problem. And after that, beginning in 2028, it's going to be absolutely spectacular when that Stadium of the Future is done. We'll see where they end up playing, Orlando, Gainesville, who really knows. But that won't be an issue come 2028 with that brand-new stadium. Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com. Jeff, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what's coming up on CBSSports.com heading into Week 9.
Well, I'm sure I'll be doing my coaching hot seat rankings at some point this week. I'm sure Doug Pearson's pitcher will be front and center, unfortunately. Although I did make a bold prediction this week. So when I do my overreactions, everybody knows I'm not a Dennis Allen fan as a head coach. I said he would be the next head coach fired, not Doug Peterson, and it's certainly trending that way.
We'll see what happens. Jeff Kerr does a great job for CBSSports.com, and he's certainly one of our guys here on 1010XL. Jeff, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, man.
Yep, you got it, Ryan. Thanks a lot.
One of the keys to victories is to know your opponent well.
Best thing I can do is point you in the direction of his competition.
Get insights and interviews from Jags beat reporter Hayes Carline when he takes you behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Are spooky plumbing problems haunting your home this Halloween? Don't be scared. Call Duck Duck Rooter, your ghost-busting plumbing heroes.
Hi there, I'm Brian, your friendly plumber. Is your toilet making ghostly groans? Or is your sink dripping like a vampire's fangs?
Don't let plumbing problems give you the heebie-jeebies. Call Duck Duck Rooter at 904-862-6769 and chase those spooky issues away.
Duck Duck Rooter, because even plumbing nightmares deserve a happy ending. Quacktastic service guaranteed.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small, loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Thousands of people in Duval County suffer from Alzheimer's. To join the Walk to End Alzheimer's at UNF November 9th, visit alz.org/Jacksonville Walk.
You can make a difference in the lives of people living with lung cancer. To join the American Lung Association at the Lung Force Walk at UNF November 16th, log on to lungforce.org/Jacksonville.
The Farm Share Thanksgiving Distribution Drive-Thru event is Saturday, November 23rd at the FSCJ downtown campus, starting at 8:30 a.m. until the food runs out. Call 328-6158.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating to a local blood donation center.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists congratulating this week's high school scholar athlete, Trevor Bryan, senior football player at Fletcher High. Trevor is on the A list and is also a track and field athlete. Congratulations, Trevor.
Meet Abiana, talking about her experience with BioTarget Regenerative Therapy at Injury Care Centers.
I started doing the BioTarget therapy for plantar fasciitis, and I noticed an improvement immediately. It was almost impossible for me to put my feet down to take a proper step. After the first treatment, I was able to actually walk and do so without limping. I kind of felt like because they were offering a money-back guarantee, it made me feel like they're sure the treatment would definitely work. I would definitely recommend this treatment to anybody that I know because it works.
Stop masking your pain with harmful medications. There's a better solution. BioTarget Regenerative Therapy has helped countless others, and it can help you too. Call 904-92-REGEN or visit gobiotarget.com today.
The Florida Theater welcomes the remarkable Luis Elizondo November 8th. The former head of the Pentagon's UFO program and a #1 New York Times bestseller shares his incredible insights into the unexplained. Dive deep into the mysteries of the universe and explore the truth behind UFOs like never before. It's your chance to experience a captivating evening filled with intrigue and discovery. Luis Elizondo, November 8th. Get your tickets today at floridatheater.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Florida, Georgia, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, Saturday, 3:30. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL Radio. Georgia comes in, a top 5 team in the country. Florida comes in at 4-3, but quite frankly, that's probably better than a lot of Gator fans envisioned after that 1-2 start. Let's talk Gators, let's talk Dogs, and let's talk SEC with Michael Bratton. He is the host of that SEC podcast, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mike, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Hey, Ryan, I'm doing great, man. It's favorite time of the year. Things are starting to heat up with the college football playoffs, so I couldn't be doing any better. Thanks for having me.
Hey, buddy, we always appreciate it. Know you're busy this time of year. And look, the last time you and I talked, there were all sorts of questions surrounding Billy Napier. And look, 4-3 is not the standard at Florida, but I will say, Michael, after that 1-2 start, including bad losses to Miami and A&M, there is something to be said for not losing the locker room, for the guys still playing hard for Billy, and wins over Mississippi State, UCF, and a dominating win over Kentucky has at least got people talking down here that maybe Billy can salvage something. What's your thought?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, Ryan, because I know we all know Josh Pate, right? I mean, he does an excellent job, but it was like a week or two ago, he had Florida in his top 25. And I thought I was higher on Florida than most people, but then I saw that. And then, I wanted to criticize it at first, but then you sit around and you think about it and you're like, well, they lost to Miami. I get it. It was lopsided, but Miami is what, top 10, close to top 5 right now. They lost to A&M. Again, it was pretty decided, but A&M is a top 10-ish team. And then at Tennessee, they should have won that game. And I'm a Tennessee grad, and I'm saying, I mean, I still don't know how Tennessee won that football game. Florida dominated it for the most part. I think scared money don't make money kind of, I mean, we could rehash that all day, but should have went for 2, should have won that football game. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fine if you want to call Florida a borderline top 25 team. And going into this Georgia game, yeah, I understand Georgia being a heavy favorite, as they probably should be, but Georgia, I think, is still living off the mystique of what they were the last couple of years. And I'll be the first to admit, I thought they were going to get destroyed by Texas, and nothing that we had seen up to this point. It's so funny, Ryan, when people are like, oh, everybody should have saw this coming. What does that mean? I mean, Georgia struggled against Kentucky. They didn't look good against Mississippi State. They got dominated by Alabama for the first half, and Alabama's not that good. You know what I mean? So why should we have all saw that coming? I don't know, but they locked it in. But my point is, I don't think this is Georgia of the last couple of years, which they should have won 3 national championships in a row. Carson Beck doesn't look the same. And aside from that Texas game, which we can't just move it aside because that may be the most impressive individual performance by a defense in college football this year, their defense has not looked that stellar. So, I could see this being a real ball game here in Jacksonville.
Michael Bratton, the host of that SEC podcast, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Michael, your assessment of DJ Lagway now that he has the reins to the Gator quarterback job after the injury to Graham Mertz?
Yeah. Each week he seems to be getting better and better. And that dagger he threw at Tennessee on the road to, tie the game up there against Tennessee. Again, I won't repeat myself and talk about the 2-point conversion that they should have had. But again, that was an elite throw. Kentucky even better. Kentucky, I believe the statistic was they had allowed 2 completions of 40-plus yards all season. They gave up 4, if not 5, I think, against Florida. So he's heating up. And I thought, obviously, we were all impressed with the Samford performance. But again, that is Samford. That was at home. And then the following week against Texas A&M, I thought he really displayed that he's got a long way to go. And I think that a true freshman going up against that defensive line, that's how any freshman's going to look. So credit him. That was just a month and a half ago. I mean, the strides he's made in a month and a half are pretty impressive. And I didn't know what the world Billy Napier was doing with his quarterback. Basically, let's give Graham 2 drives and then we'll give Lagway 1, regardless of where the ball's at or anything like that. That seemed nonsensical to me. But again, I'm not an SEC head coach, and that looks somewhat like a stroke of genius now because DJ's got all these reps with him leading the team out here. So, yeah, again, there's a lot of optimism, but I'm not trying to blow smoke here, right? But at the same time, Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and at Florida State. I'm sure your Florida audience has memorized that by now. But I think we're sitting here saying this is maybe a borderline top 25 team. Billy Napier has kept this thing together. But if they drop 3 or 4 in a row here, which I think is totally feasible, I think we're right back to where we started, and Billy Napier's got to go.
I think the real question, Michael, to that point, and I agree with you. Look, we all know what's probably going to happen on Saturday and what's probably going to happen in Austin a week from Saturday. Of the 5 games left, they need 2 of them to get to a bowl game. And I think that would be the real question, right? If they beat Florida State at the end of the year, that would be Billy's first win over Florida State. I know Florida State's terrible, but that's still a big deal around here. And if they get one of their home games, if they get either LSU or Ole Miss, both of which are in Gainesville, and they get to 6-6 and they get to a bowl game, do you believe at that point Billy should get 2025?
Yeah, I think he will at this point, and I think that's a lot of factors. With it's interesting. I was having a conversation recently with some people that are really plugged into all this stuff, and this was right before so this was about a week ago, and there was no college FBS head coaches that have been fired, and that I can't remember mid-October that ever happening. But there's so many events going on with the 4-game redshirt rule, with these coaches buyouts, with players able to enter the portal as soon as you fire a guy. I mean, there's a lot of things in play, which I won't even bore you with. They got this house settlement and all these other things. That there's a lot of big picture things going on around college football that I think are causing a lot of these programs to be hesitant to move on from a guy too quickly. So that could also be playing in Billy Napier's in favor, because again, we don't know what Florida's and as along with the rest of the SEC may be having around a $20 to $25 million allotted just to the players next year. So can we afford to throw Billy out with $25 million? What is it going to cost to get a new staff? I mean, this is going to rack up quickly. So any reason for optimism in a bowl game would be that DJ Lagway continuing to get better and better and better. And he said repeatedly, he's there because of Billy Napier. There are things to go in his favor. I just think that if they lose out, and I'm not even counting Florida State, they're garbage. I'm talking about the 4 games here in conference play. If they lose all of them, I don't think this fan base is going to sit here and say, let's give him another year. I think these are games they annually should be beating, or at least competing in all these games.
No, I agree with you. That's why, to me, the interesting point is if they get one of them to get to 6-6. I agree. If they lose the next 4 conference games, I don't think it matters what happens against Florida State. Billy's probably gone. A couple more from Michael Bratton. He is the host of that SEC podcast. Michael, in regards to Georgia, they're the overwhelming favorite. They should be. Carson Beck returning home, where he won a state championship at Mandarin High School here in Jacksonville. And Georgia, look, they had been surviving. They survived Kentucky. They didn't play particularly well against Mississippi State. We know they lost that thriller to Alabama. But, boy, they looked like they put it all together against Texas. And that's the last time we saw them a week and a half ago. And when they come in here to the cocktail party on Saturday, they're going to have an awful lot of confidence.
Yeah, that's true. But again, would it shock you to know that Georgia is 88th in the country right now in third down offense? I mean, it has been a calamity. That may be too strong a word, but when you got a quarterback that people are billing as a top overall pick in the upcoming draft, when you took Florida's best, I don't know if he's their best running back, but most explosive running back, and we're sitting here, they're number 30 in the country in rush offense efficiency. This is not that good of an offense for Georgia for whatever reason, and it should be. And I think it's just going to show how valuable Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey were, which is obvious at this point in time. But a lot of people just kind of overlook that with all the weapons they had coming back. So I get it. They had a lot of confidence coming into that game, but everybody in the world was telling them they were going to lose it. Meanwhile, it's a complete 180 here. Everybody in the world's telling them they're going to destroy Florida in a game that I don't even know if it's a rivalry to them right now. I would say their biggest rival, Georgia, that is Alabama right now. So I don't know if that motivation is going to be there. So the way I look at this, again, I think this is Florida's Super Bowl as it should be, and this is an opportunity. You asked me about if they win, if they make a bowl game, heck, if they beat Georgia, you might as well get Billy a contract extension at that point.
Oh, I agree. If they somehow pull this off on Saturday, again, I don't know anybody that's picking that to happen, but if it does happen, yeah, Billy will have earned 2025, and I don't care what happens the rest of the year. Michael, big picture SEC as we begin to wrap up. We know Billy's on the hot seat. Sam Pittman in Fayetteville, maybe Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Anybody else on a little bit of a hot seat as we wind down the regular season here?
Yeah, I think, two that you missed, but again, their buyouts may keep them safe. But I don't know how any Kentucky fan is feeling good about the direction of their program under Mark Stoops. They have just careened, and even their physicality, their toughness, their defense that program has seemingly been built upon is nowhere to be found these last couple of weeks. They used to at least be able to run the ball. They haven't been able to do that for several seasons, seemingly. And this is a senior-laden team that Kentucky has here. So what is it going to look like next year? I think Kentucky could be a travesty next season. So, but again, he's got a $44 million buyout. How in the world these coaches get these buyouts, I'll never know. Shout out Jimmy Sexton. I wish he would represent me. But and same thing with Venables. I mean, that was foolish when they gave him an extension before knowing what the roster he had built was going to look like in the SECs. He's been ahead. This is his third season. They're about to have 2 losing seasons. And this, obviously, we all knew it was going to get a lot tougher for Oklahoma in the SEC, but they look completely lost on the offensive side of the football. I think Venables has done a horrible job managing his offensive roster, and he also has a $44 million buyout thanks to the extension they gave him in the summer. Which where in the world was Brent Venables going to go? That they needed to give him an extension, and the excuse at the time was momentum, recruiting. We want to show we're behind this guy as we go into the SEC. But that's nonsensical. I mean, what good coach needs a contract extension to show the direction of the program? I can't think of a single one. So can Oklahoma and Kentucky afford to buy these guys out? Quite frankly, I don't know if they can afford not to at this point in time. Just look at A&M. They bit the bullet. They paid the heavy price to get rid of Jimbo, and they're reaping the benefits right now.
Michael, we got 90 seconds. Final question. Playoff-wise, SEC teams that are still alive, is it as simple as, all right, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, and then Alabama, LSU, and that'll probably be an elimination game a week from Saturday? Are those the 5 that are still alive, in your opinion?
Oh, I believe you left off A&M.
Oh, A&M, that's right. I didn't leave off A&M, so that would be 6, correct.
Yeah. So I think at this point in time, but I would also add, now I don't think this is going to happen, but Ole Miss, if they can beat Georgia in Oxford, they still got a fighting shot. But the way they're playing, probably no shot that actually happens.
Interesting. And that's what the playoff, I mean, Alabama, LSU, that is a playoff game a week from Saturday. And you could argue Texas A&M may have some implications there as well. Should be a heck of a lot of fun for the last month of the year. Michael Bratton of That SEC Podcast. Michael, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville where they can find the podcast and what they can look forward to.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's called That THAT SEC Podcast, highest rated SEC show on Apple and Spotify. And on YouTube is we're having a lot of fun. We dressed up as clowns because we both picked LSU to beat A&M last week. So, yeah, just search that out or SEC Mike, and I should pop right up.
Michael, I know you're busy, man. Thank you as always for the time. We'll talk again soon, my friend.
Okay, take care, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to Mike Bratton, host of That SEC Podcast, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As again, Florida, Georgia, this Saturday, 3:30. You'll hear the game right here on 1010 XL Radio. We did a lot of Florida, Georgia talk tonight. We certainly spent a lot of time on the Jacksonville Jaguars as well, as they will travel up to Philadelphia. 2-6, that's what the Jaguars are, trying to get their third win of the year. It won't be easy playing against a very hot Philadelphia team that just went into Cincinnati last week and beat the Bengals by 20 points. Well, that'll just about do it, man. It has been a very, very busy Thursday evening here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Mike Bratton, That SEC Podcast. Also, Mike Huguenin has covered the world of college football for years. I call Mike a college football encyclopedia. Really appreciate both of those guys. And then NFL-wise, we had Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com. He's actually based up in Philadelphia, so we got a deep dive into the Eagles with Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports, and, of course, former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts, who joins me every week here on Hacker After Dark, and we certainly appreciate Cecil taking time out for us as always. As far as this weekend, give me Georgia over Florida. I'm not really breaking any news there. I like Georgia by 2 touchdowns. Give me the Dogs 34, the Gators 20. I think I'm not going to pick Florida State again against a Power 4 team. I keep picking them. They keep losing. So maybe it's reverse psychology. Maybe they'll win if I pick against them. So give me North Carolina. I think Miami has a relatively easy time with Duke. And as far as the Jaguars on Sunday, how can anybody in good conscience and in being objective pick Jacksonville to win? I mean, you can't. Going into Philadelphia, the way they're playing, the way the Jaguars are playing, give me the Eagles to win, something along the lines of, I'll say 37-20, something like that. I think Philadelphia has a relatively easy time with it on Sunday. Now, we will be back tomorrow night. Hacker After Dark, of course, turns in to the Friday Night Lights postgame. Friday Night Lights all over Northeast Florida. In fact, a lot of Duval County schools are playing tonight. Tomorrow night, St. Johns County, Clay County, the outer counties will have reaction from the victorious coaches both tonight and tomorrow under the Friday Night Lights, and we do hope that you join us then. JJ LaSelva was your producer tonight. JJ, really appreciate you, man. Good to work with you again as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. And as we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we absolutely appreciate it. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Thursday, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night under the Friday Night Lights. Until then,